And people started to speculate and believe that we had left our children alone in their staterooms. And that is just completely untrue because we had someone with our children at all times on this boat.
Imagine having a life that millions of people dream of, marrying your high school sweetheart, living in a luxurious home, and going on lavish vacations, starting a family with your beautiful wife, and then thinking to yourself, I need to make a song about how none of this is good enough for me.
Hey everybody, we usually would not be making a video like this, but there is information circulating about us that is completely untrue. So we just wanted to set the record straight, clear the air, because we take our role as parents extremely seriously.
You can see where my story did lead to misunderstanding, which is why I ended up deleting it. I do want to clarify that we have not, would not, will not ever leave our children unattended. We would never ever want to put them in harm's way in any way.
Where this whole controversy started, I guess, is a few days ago, Abby posted on her Instagram story that we were at dinner FaceTiming the baby monitors while our children were asleep in their staterooms. And people started to speculate and believe that we had left our children alone in their staterooms. And that is just completely untrue.
Nobody with a brain in their head, okay, with two brain cells to rub together, believes what their video just said.
TikTok's Matt and Abby Howard are facing criticism for leaving their 1- and 2-year-old sons alone in their room on a cruise.
What's up, dudes?
I think there's 2 major instances online where we have gotten officially canceled. I mean, because it's happened more than once.
Yeah.
This whole getting canceled online, and I feel like it's been sprinkled with lots of mini cancellations, you know?
Period.
I can see where my story did lead to misunderstanding, which is why I ended up deleting it several hours after posting it.
We take our role as parents extremely seriously, and we love our children more than anything in the entire world, and we're very protective of them.
Don't be fooled by me picking up my house because I'm not typically the one that does it. And don't be fooled by me taking care of my son because most of the time my wife does that too.
Is being intimate the same after pregnancy?
No. It's not. It just sucked to get on TikTok and like the second I get on TikTok it'd be a video about me.
Yeah, that
and
sucks.
Someone just like roasting me, like video after video roasting me. This is super embarrassing, but I've been sleeping in our walk-in closet for the past month. Secret's out, I sleep in the closet.
Okay, you guys, we have to talk about Matt and Abby again, because things just keep getting messier. At this point, it feels like every time they take a breath, the internet's already lighting up with a new controversy. But now, it's not just fans questioning their choices, it's other influencers too. And let's be real, when the people inside your space start throwing shade, you know it's getting serious. So here's the latest. TikTokers Maya and Hunter just dropped a video that wasn't aimed at anyone by name, but everyone knew who they meant. Fans immediately pointed fingers at Matt and Abby for the exact behavior being called out, posting toxic relationship moments just to get people talking, like purposely setting themselves up to be dragged. And while some defended them, others are saying this is a pattern, rage baiting for views, confessing cringe things on their podcast, and then acting shocked when people react. Remember that time Matt said he didn't talk to Abby for 2 days after she gave birth because he was processing his life changes? Yeah, that clip is back in circulation, and people are fuming all over again. This couple went from TikTok sweethearts to internet side-eyes real fast, and today we're going to unpack exactly how that happened, what led up to this latest round of backlash, and whether they're victims of internet hate or playing the game too hard. Trust me, you're going to want to hear all of this. Before all the podcast drama and influencer callouts, Matt and Abby were honestly the blueprint for wholesome couple content. Like, if you were on TikTok in 2020...
Being a parent is hard work. I don't think there's anyone in this world who would disagree with that. And sometimes parents need a freaking break. So when family vloggers Matt and Abby Howard took their 2 kids on a cruise...
We don't like to call ourselves cheap. We are frugal. We appreciate value.
There's no way you didn't come across one of their cute couple dances or super aesthetic vlogs. They had that picture-perfect, young and in love energy that people couldn't get enough of. They met in high school, got married young, and their whole vibe was this Christian influencer fairy tale, but with trendy music and fun transitions. And it totally worked. Their audience grew fast, especially during the pandemic when everyone was stuck inside and craving feel-good content. People loved watching them go from newlyweds to first-time parents. Their transition into family content felt natural, and it made them stand out. They weren't just another dance duo. They were documenting real milestones, moving houses, having babies, starting a podcast together. that relatability factor, it had fans hooked. But somewhere along the way, that realness started to feel a little too real. Once they launched the Unplanned podcast, things really changed. Suddenly, they were talking about every single aspect of their relationship. Fights, frustrations, even bedroom stuff. And while some fans appreciated the honesty, others were like, wait, should we even be hearing this? It felt like no topic was off limits. One episode, they were sharing a sweet birth story. The next, they were diving into a full-blown argument they had the week before. And people started to notice a pattern, especially with Matt. The more unfiltered he got, the more uncomfortable the audience felt. Comments started popping up saying they were oversharing for clout or trying too hard to stay viral.
More recently is like not talking about things until it's like we've resolved them, healed from them, whatever it is. Because I think it's good to be vulnerable. I mean, I feel like that word is overused in a way, but like the sense that like we're not putting on any kind of front.
And honestly, that was just the beginning of the shift. Their once squeaky clean image started cracking, and fans weren't sure if they were watching a real couple evolve or watching a brand slowly unravel. And if that wasn't enough to raise eyebrows, their next few podcast clips pretty much guaranteed they'd never get that old image back, because that's when the real backlash started. So here's the thing. Matt and Abby always branded themselves as being real and raw online. And at first, that was what made them different. They weren't just performing for the camera, they were talking about their marriage, parenthood, faith, and all the highs and lows that came with it. But eventually, that honesty turned into overexposure, and it went from, oh, they're so relatable, to, why are they sharing that? Their podcast, the Unplanned Podcast, quickly became a goldmine of viral moments, but not necessarily for the right reasons. Fans started pointing out that instead of being vulnerable, it felt like they were strategically dropping bombs to get clips trending. Like, one day they're talking about sleep schedules and baby names. The next, Matt's making comments about how intimacy felt different after childbirth, or casually saying Abby's C-section was cheating birth. Yes, he actually said that. People were shocked. Not just because the topics were personal, but because it felt like they were being packaged for entertainment. And every time a clip would go viral for the wrong reasons, they'd do the same dance, act surprised, offer a semi-apology, and then move on to the next shocking confession. It didn't help that Abby once admitted she's not even on social media anymore because of all the hate, leaving people to assume Matt is the one running the show. And honestly, that just fueled more speculation. Fans began wondering if he was the mastermind behind their entire online presence, purposely pushing the envelope to keep their names in the algorithm. It got to the point where people were saying,
and like we're not also going to, social media gets criticized a lot for being like, you know, highlights reel. So you have to do that, find that balance there.
Yeah.
And but also there's like certain times where it's like, okay, if your marriage is more important, then like, you know, you have to be ready, like you have to be right within yourselves before you're like putting this out there for everyone.
There's no way they didn't know this was going to cause drama. Every clip felt like it was baiting the audience, poking at sensitive topics just enough to blow up on TikTok. And that's when the term rage bait started sticking. People weren't just uncomfortable, they felt manipulated, like Matt and Abby were purposely sharing just enough chaos to get dragged and profit from it. But if you thought that was bad, wait until you hear what fellow influencers had to say next. So the internet was already side-eyeing Matt and Abby, but things really escalated when other influencers low-key entered the chat. And you know it's bad when your own peers start throwing shade, especially without even saying your name. That's exactly what happened when TikTok creators Maya and Hunter posted a video that had people instantly going, oh no, they're totally talking about Matt and Abby. The video called out a super specific behavior, basically saying if you post your partner doing something obviously toxic and then act surprised when people tell you to leave them, what did you expect? The clip didn't tag anyone, but the internet didn't need clues. The comments were full of people saying, Matt and Abby have left the chat, and this couldn't be more obvious. And honestly, they weren't wrong, because it lined up perfectly with what Matt and Abby had just posted, another viral podcast clip where Matt admitted to ignoring Abby for 2 days after she gave birth. Like fully shut down, didn't speak, and apparently was mourning his career goals going to the wayside. Fans were livid, and this TikTok shade just added fuel to the fire. Then came another creator who straight up asked, do we think Matt and Abby are rage baiting or not? And that post blew up too. People flooded the comments saying they used to love watching their couple content, but now it feels like a weird show. Like it's no longer about being real, it's about being just controversial enough to get views. Some even said Abby looks like she's trying to keep things calm and present a united front, while Matt is out here running the circus. And it's not hard to believe when Abby's admitted she stays off social media now, while Matt is the one steering the content ship. So, yeah, at this point, people aren't just annoyed, they feel played. They're calling it a formula: drop a problematic clip, go viral, act confused, repeat. But the clip that really pushed people over the edge? That would be Matt's post-birth confession.
You don't want millions of people on the internet telling you to leave your husband. You shouldn't have posted a video of him doing something so ridiculously toxic that deep down you knew was wrong, but just wanted the confirmation from others that his behavior is unacceptable.
And it's even worse when you hear the full context. All right, let's get into that clip, the one that took everything to a whole new level of cringe. Because as wild as the rage bait accusations were, what really broke the internet was something Matt said on their own podcast. And yeah, it wasn't a good look. In the episode, Matt casually admitted that after Abby gave birth to their second son, he didn't talk to her for 2 full days. Why? Because he was processing the fact that his career goals might have to take a back seat now that they had another baby. Like, what? He said, and this is real, that he was having a kind of baby blues moment and felt like all his personal dreams were slipping away, so he just shut down. Didn't say a word. Not exactly what your partner wants to hear when they've literally just gone through childbirth. And Abby? She sat there and quietly agreed it was hard, that she felt unsupported, that she had high needs and didn't feel heard. But the way they both just dropped that story like it was no big deal left, people stunned. The comments exploded. People were like, did he seriously just admit to emotionally ghosting his wife while she was recovering from major surgery? Like, even if that was his truth, saying it on a podcast felt almost performative. Like, why are we hearing about this in a viral clip instead of a therapy session? And that's where the whole thing gets messy. Because instead of making them more relatable, these kinds of confessions have made fans feel uncomfortable, like they're being forced to witness moments that should have stayed private. To be fair, Matt did try to explain it. He said he didn't want to bring Abby down with his emotions, so he stayed quiet. But Abby quickly pointed out that the silence did bring her down. It wasn't protecting her, it was isolating her. The whole exchange felt heavy, unfiltered, and kind of heartbreaking. But more than anything, it left people wondering, was this just them being real? Or were they chasing another viral moment at the cost of their own peace? And unfortunately, this wasn't even the most uncomfortable thing Matt's ever said. So just when people thought Matt couldn't possibly say anything more awkward on the podcast, he did. At one point during an episode that was supposed to be about their parenting journey, Matt made a comment that Abby's C-section was cheating birth.
And when it's called out on such a massive scale, maybe instead of writing it off and labeling it as his sense of humor, you should accept that the people commenting for you to leave your husband actually want what's best for you.
Yep, that's the actual phrase he used. And it sparked immediate backlash across TikTok and Reddit. Because not only is that wildly inaccurate, it's also incredibly dismissive of what C-section recovery actually involves. People were like, how is going through major abdominal surgery considered cheating anything? The comment came off as tone-deaf and weirdly judgmental, especially considering how common and medically necessary C-sections can be. But the uncomfortable moments didn't stop there. In another episode, Matt decided to talk about how things felt different between them intimately after childbirth. Like extremely personal, TMI level stuff, and not in a clinical, educational way either. It was just awkward. Fans were stunned, not because they don't expect relationship changes after becoming parents, but because of how casually and almost jokingly he presented something so deeply personal. And to put it out there on a platform that reaches millions, people said it felt less like open communication and more like fishing for attention. It's like they stopped drawing the line between being vulnerable and being exploitative. What started as we're just being honest about our lives turned into we're dropping bombshells for the algorithm. Even longtime fans started checking out. The vibe wasn't wholesome anymore, it was chaotic. And a lot of people said they weren't even shocked by what Matt said anymore. They were shocked that Abby was going along with it. Some people speculated that maybe she doesn't realize how bad it looks, or that she's just trying to make the best of the situation. others felt she was being put in a tough position, forced to defend comments that she probably doesn't even agree with. Either way, these moments made one thing clear: the oversharing had officially crossed a line. And eventually, even Matt and Abby seemed to realize that, because their entire tone suddenly shifted in a more recent podcast appearance. So after clip kept going viral for all the wrong reasons, Matt and Abby finally seemed to get the message, or at least they pretended to. Because in a recent appearance on Ginger and Jeremy Duggar's podcast, the couple addressed the backlash and admitted, yeah, they might have gone too far. They talked about how in the early days of the Unplanned podcast, there were literally no boundaries. Everything was fair game. Fights, parenting stress, awkward confessions, emotional breakdowns. And to be fair, that's what made people tune in.
Free time also was allegedly childcare free time, because it appeared they left their very young sleeping children in 2 separate cabins unattended with only FaceTime to monitor them.
But Matt and Abby now say they're rethinking how much of their private life actually needs to be broadcast to millions of people. According to them, they've started editing more, having more conversations about what should stay in and what should be cut. They'll film a podcast episode and then have a second round of reviewing, asking things like, does this cross a line? Or are we really ready to talk about this publicly? And if something doesn't feel right, they leave it out. Which, okay, that sounds like growth, but some fans aren't buying it. Because let's be real, this shift didn't come from a place of quiet self-reflection. It came after months of backlash, trending TikToks, and influencer callouts. And some people feel like they're not learning so much as they're just adjusting the optics. Like, sure, now they're saying, we're trying to protect our marriage and not post things before we've healed from them. But the timing feels too convenient. Almost like a PR cleanup job rather than an actual change in behavior, especially when you consider that right after saying they're pulling back, they still managed to drop viral clips about ignoring each other after birth and C-section comments. Fans are asking, if you're really editing now, why are these clips still making it into the final cut? Is it a misstep or just another tactic in the rage bait playbook? Either way, the internet was watching closely, and while they might have slowed down the oversharing, the next wave of drama was already on its way, because then came the cruise situation, and that was a whole different level of messy. Just when things were starting to settle down a little, Matt and Abby found themselves back in hot water, this time over a family cruise post that completely blew up. It all started when Abby casually mentioned during a podcast that she and Matt had gone out to dinner on a cruise without their kids and used FaceTime to check in on them. That might not sound scandalous at first, but the way she described it left just enough room for people to assume the worst. The internet ran with it. Reddit threads lit up with people asking if they'd seriously left their babies alone in a cabin. Others accused them of being careless and putting content over parenting. The whole thing spiraled into one of their biggest controversies yet, and it got so loud that People magazine even covered it. Eventually, they came forward to clear the air. They claimed their kids were never actually alone.
And when they were allegedly caught because they posted about it, the story seemed to change as quickly as the weather on the high seas. But this isn't Matt and Abby's first alarming red flag to a lot of the public. So let's zoom out to see the entire Matt and Abby story. And this is what we know.
That family members were present and the FaceTime comment was just misunderstood. They said the backlash was overblown and unfair, and that they were just trying to be transparent. But by that point, the damage was already done. To a lot of viewers, this felt like a pattern. Overshare, misstep, backlash, explain. And no matter how many clarifications they offered, the trust kept cracking. Even people who wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt were like, maybe just don't share every detail. And yet, the drama didn't stop there. Because right after the cruise blow-up, Matt and Abby dropped another bomb, this time about skipping Father's Day. So, right on the heels of the cruise drama, Matt and Abby stirred up even more confusion, this time with a video about boycotting Father's Day. And yeah, people weren't exactly on board. In a clip posted last year, they casually shared that they were choosing to delay Father's Day until September. The reasoning wasn't super clear, and it came off as one of those things that probably sounded quirky in theory, but landed way off in practice. Viewers were baffled. Some felt it was disrespectful, others called it performative, and a bunch of people simply didn't get why they needed to announce it like it was some groundbreaking movement. And of course, once the backlash started, they walked it back. In a follow-up conversation, Matt admitted the clip was a mistake and even called it horrifying to look back on. Abby gave the whole situation a 2 out of 10 in hindsight. So basically a total flop. But by now, the audience was used to this cycle. Post something odd, watch it blow up, then explain or apologize later. It was starting to feel less like missteps, and more like a formula. At this point, even their most loyal fans were starting to drift. The couple who once felt like your relatable internet besties now had people saying, "This isn't the Matt and Abby we used to love." And the sentiment wasn't just from trolls, it was coming from longtime viewers who had followed their journey since the early days. Reddit threads, TikTok stitches, and even podcast listeners started echoing the same thing. It all feels too curated, too baity, too fake. Many pointed fingers at Matt as the one steering the content in this new direction. Since Abby admitted she stays off socials due to the negativity, fans believe Matt's calling all the shots, and not in a great way. Some even speculated that he's become too self-aware of the clicks and controversy and is now leaning into it on purpose. Worse, some viewers said the oversharing made them feel complicit, like they were watching a relationship unravel in real time, and the couple just kept the cameras rolling. Sure, they still get huge podcast guests and have strong production, but when the trust breaks, even high-quality content can't save you. So now, the big question is, can Matt and Abby turn this around? Or are they too deep in their own brand of chaos to win their audience back? So after all the viral clips, influencer shade, and awkward confessions, the question still stands. Are Matt and Abby just being real? Or are they playing the game a little too well? They've claimed they're learning, editing more, and trying to protect their marriage. But fans aren't convinced. For some, it feels like every lesson learned is followed by another headline-making moment. Maybe they started out as the internet's sweethearts, but somewhere along the way, the lines between real life and content blurred. And now, it's hard to tell what's authentic and what's just strategy. At the end of the day, they're still pulling numbers. But if the trust is gone, can the brand survive? Only time and the next viral clip will tell.